Hey everybody, on episode 8 of the Making Strides podcast, we talk about running in the age of COVID. We talk about how your training probably has changed to some capacity this year and what you can do about it to maximize your relationship with running as a lifelong sport. Enjoy! Welcome to Making Strides, a podcast aimed at empowering and educating runners. Our goal is to help decipher misinformation in the running world that can lead runners off their path to progress. With an evidence-guided approach, this podcast aims to give runners the resources they need to foster healthy, lifelong running from track to trail. I'm AJ Cohen.
And I'm Adam Schwert. Let's make some strides.
Hey everyone, this is the Making Strides podcast, episode 8. Okay, Adam, what's up? How's it going? How's Colorado Springs?
It's good. It's not too bad, especially with all the fires going on. We're getting that a little bit. It sounds like, based on what we were talking about, before we started recording, is you guys are getting it a little bit worse from a fire even further north.
Yeah. There's a trail 25-mile and 50-mile race here in Fort Collins today, and I have 2 of my coaching clients running it. Both of them also ran the 100K 3 weeks ago, so today's going to be exceptionally challenging for them. It's there's a ton of wildfire smoke. It's going to be 96 degrees today, and they both just ran a ridiculously difficult, rugged 62-mile race 3 weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting. I'll have to let you know how that goes for them.
For sure.
Let's jump to the case today. This has been an interesting year so far. And I know that there have been so many media outlets in terms of running magazines and podcasts and just, influencers who have talked a lot about how COVID has made this year and everything else going on has made this year exceptionally interesting from a runner's perspective, with races being canceled, with certain people having restrictions on how much time they can spend outside, just all of the, and then also like even talking about some of the civil unrest and the protests and like maybe somebody lives near an area that is having a lot of activity like that, and maybe that has some implications for someone's training and stuff like that as well. But mostly the COVID stuff probably. So today, Adam and I have 3 questions each that we have prepared, and we're going to try and get to 2 questions. We're going to ask each other. We don't know what these questions are, but we're going to ask each other 2 of our questions. We'll alternate, and then we have the third extra question in case, I'm going to guess there's going to be some overlap with some of our questions. Mine are fairly generic, but so maybe there's overlap and we can rely on that third question if there is an overlapping question. But yeah, Adam, I mean, if you have any thoughts to start with, otherwise we can start with maybe one of your questions first.
Yeah, no, I think, like you mentioned, and, how you stay engaged with your training, continuing to progress, is really challenging right now. There aren't very many group runs, there aren't any races, work schedules are different for a lot of people, family, especially now that we move into the fall with some schools being all virtual, family dynamics may be changing. Just there's a lot of curveballs this year. So that's what our questions are kind of geared at, kind of how we're managing that with ourselves, our patients, our clients. So to lead us off, AJ, how have you found enjoyment and training during this summer of 2020?
Yeah, I've always been somebody who, especially during the last couple of years, I don't know if I've mentioned it, I may have just briefly, but a couple of years ago, my wife and I decided to hit our student loan debt really, really hard. And part of that was accepting the fact that I wasn't going to be signing up for races, a ton of races. And so I've been in this interesting position for a while now where I've accepted the fact that I wasn't going to be doing a whole ton of races. I'm a NAR Runners ambassador, the local race directing company here in town. I'm an ambassador for them. So they give me one free registration every year, and I've usually made it the 100K. And I've had that one big race every year, but because I didn't have to pay for it. But I haven't been doing a whole ton of races and for the last couple of years. And 2020 was literally, we paid off our student debt entirely the early spring or late winter. I can't remember exactly when it was. It was right before COVID. And so, or right before, all of the COVID stuff hit, I guess. COVID was around, but it was before all the lockdowns and stuff. Right before that was when we paid off all the student debt. And I knew that was going to happen this year because we were planning for it. So I had signed up for a spring marathon, a summer race, a fall race. Like I was ready to, and so excited to get back into racing. And I was like, excited to train again. But in terms of my enjoyability of training, it's more so just been like regressing back into my previous mindset of I love spending time in the mountains and going for adventure runs that cost only as much as you spend in food and gas. And so, that's something that I've accepted for a while now. And I really do enjoy just peak bagging and seeing new places and exploring and spending time with friends, which that has also been limited this year. But related to that point, I do think that groups of runners, like the social aspect of running outside, I think as long as we're sensible about the distance we are keeping from each other and just being outside and stuff, I think running together and with groups can be fairly safe as long as it's outside and people are just are not like hugging and right next to each other and stuff like that. But so it's been fun going back to group runs, and I'm really just enjoying also the consistency I'm getting. It's also been a weird year for me because I had a baby in January, and we were not able to have daycare during all of this. So I'm at home 3 days a week with my baby anyway, and for all like the whole day. And I do my coaching, I do programming and catch up on work, housekeeping stuff. But it's been really cool, like being able to be more consistent with my running, do multiple runs per day, to really gradually increase my training volume as well, and be pretty systematic about it because I do technically have more free time to put it in there. So that's all been kind of fun as well. I guess I can just shoot your question back over to you. Like, what about you?
Yeah, so I found myself, trying to go after, so running specifically, I haven't done much of this summer because of an injury. And the running I have done has been pretty short, pretty limited. Been trying to keep it really flat, which is difficult here in the springs. But I've been doing a lot so it took on some like different challenges than I normally would. Been going after a lot of long, hard climbs on the bike. Also did my longest ride ever this summer. So I think it's finding other outlets to kind of put your energy towards that still complement your end goal, but are different, that keep you engaged and interested and wanting to kind of continue to push yourself a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And you've had a tough year with the running and your injury and stuff, but it doesn't mean we can't grow as runners. It doesn't mean we can't still work on the other things that involves being a healthy runner and having healthy running goals and all that type of stuff. So, I thought I was going to write a question about goals and I was going to go into it. Maybe you have one, but I don't know if I ended up doing that. Okay, so we'll just go with this one. What are some ways runners can stay motivated during training this year, since most races have been canceled?
That's good. I think the big one I've seen a lot of people go to are time trial based kind of stuff, where it's kind of a pseudo race. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of additional stress that could, squeak out a little bit of performance. But I think for me, it's similar to finding the enjoyment. I really enjoy challenging myself. So it's finding other ways to challenge yourself, such as going off. You know, we are incredibly lucky here where we're at, and we have the mountains basically in our backyard. We can go find, you know, a nice peak to go summit, or a nice climb, or just a really scenic trail, you know, to get yourself out the door, get you motivated. But for those that don't necessarily have that, I think finding, you know, being safe with, you know, everything around COVID, but finding a close knit group, you know, that you can rely on and have that accountability piece, I think can really help as well. But it's, you know, I think in the end, you got to know your why of why you got into it, why you continue to do it. And when things get hard or you get frustrated, is going back to that and remembering, you know, you really enjoy this, you love to do it, regardless of the end result. You know, it's something you want to do. So just remembering, well, not that you want to do, but you get to do this. You know, not everybody has that luxury. So just keeping that in mind and being thankful for it, I think can go a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. In the trail running community, the concept of an FKT, or fastest known time, is actually it's a pretty popular concept, but it's been really cool this year. You know, there's no races and you have these super fit individuals, and it's cool to watch, you know, your favorite professional ultra runners, you know, via Instagram or Facebook or whatever, however you follow them. And they're like super fit, and their races are canceled, but instead they go crush these amazing FKTs. And it's just been really cool watching all of these FKTs just get, you know, reset. And you know, some of them have been really cool. But that's one thing. Obviously, like, you can have your own PRs on certain types of runs, and you can work towards those. And you know, you can do time trials. You can do your own kind of 5Ks and half marathons and stuff like that too. But yeah, the why do you run? That's so important. And if the reason why you're running is to just, like, you know, check off a certain time on a certain race, like, I think we need to have you thinking a little bit deeper about the real reason why you're doing what you're doing. And is that a sustainable kind of belief system for you as a runner? And maybe maybe it is for some people, but for most it isn't. Races they should be, you know, like a pit stop along your journey as a lifelong runner. They're celebrations of fitness, and really nothing more than that. And your self-worth should not be wrapped around your performance or just the ability to race. And so I think those are some really important concepts. Okay, let's go to your next question.
So gyms are closed. What strategies have you used for strength training with yourself, clients, and/or patients?
Yeah, gym train. We may not necessarily have access to a gym right now. Maybe gyms are open and you just don't have a whole ton of. You really just don't want to go expose yourself in a gym. Maybe you don't feel safe. Different gyms have different practices for cleanliness and the disinfecting and all that type of stuff. So maybe some gyms are better than others. You know, my practice is inside of a gym. It's inside of a rock climbing gym. And actually the rock climbing gym that it's inside of is pretty kind of dead right now. So it's great on my part, and my patients can come in and we pretty much have the gym to ourselves most of the time. And that's been really nice. But yeah, for a lot of individuals who they don't have access to a gym, let's just say they don't have access to a gym, workout equipment has been like sold out for obvious reasons, and so people can't even just like buy stuff. And if they do find stuff to buy, it's like price gouged because there's not a lot of it out there, and the need is really high and the supply is down. And that's another thing too, is like a lot of these types of things are made overseas where production has been halted, and that's all an issue. So for individuals who want to do strength training, who are not super familiar with the strength training and don't have a ton of experience with it at all, there are a lot of body weight style movements that they can get away with for a while and still see some benefits. But they're definitely going to be held back eventually with the lack of intensity that inherently, you just can't, you can't have these super strong, strong contractions of muscles and difficult exercises with just body weight. So eventually we do need to add some load. And, Chris Johnson's stuff with the cinder blocks is, that's great. It's genius. Cinder blocks are in stock, and they're in stock at Lowe's and Home Depot or wherever you get your kind of stuff like that. But it's like $2.50 for a 36-pound cinder block. They have half cinder blocks that are a little bit lighter. They have smaller cinder blocks that are a little bit lighter. So you don't necessarily have to go just grab a 36-pound cinder block. And there's a ton of movements that you can do with the cinder block. You can hold it, here. You can hold it overhead. You can, you can hold it at your side. You can do heel raises with it. Put it on your hips and do hip, bridges. You can do, lunges and all that type of stuff. So that's the most obvious thing that you and I have been kind of surrounded by a lot, because everybody's, pretty much everybody that we associate ourselves with is pretty familiar with that and doing a whole ton of cinder block training. But people do laugh at me when I bring it up, because my patients, it's so funny. One of my patients the other day was like, "Oh, you go to a normal PT and you get some TheraBands and do some grandma exercises, but you go to AJ and you go home with a cinder block." But so that's been funny. But yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts, and what kind of stuff have you been doing?
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff. I tell people to, get creative. The movements don't have to change that much, or the basic fundamentals. We're still going to squat and hinge and push, pull, carry. But I tell them to get creative with stuff around their house. They're always like, "Oh, maybe I should get some weights." And I'm like, "You can't get them. I'm sorry. Like, everywhere's sold out." But if you go to your local hardware store and you get some cinder blocks, you get some sandbags, like, I guarantee you got paint buckets at home, fill those up with rocks. Like, you have something that you can utilize for some added resistance when you get to that level.
Yeah, definitely. And I also was doing some Zoom exercise classes once a week during lockdown, and a couple of those times I told people to fill a backpack up with canned goods or weights or whatever they have. And I had just canned goods, because right when this was all, hitting the fan or whatever you want to call it, we did go and we bought soups and some cans and extra stuff that we would eventually, not hoarding, but like just got some stuff in case we couldn't get to the supermarket for a couple weeks. But I was able to fill my backpack, this backpack up to like 30 something, 40 pounds, almost 40 pounds or something like that. And so you can get pretty creative. Let's see. Is it okay for runners to run significantly more this year if they have more free time? And how about running every day or multiple times per day?
Can I say it depends?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm 100% it depend on the person. I think a lot of people are starting to run, or have started to run more, that haven't run before this, because gyms are closed, because they're stuck inside. It's a way for them to get out. The newer runner, would probably want to go back and listen to our previous episode about progressing your running. I would not advise them to, within a few months, be running an hour a day every day, or multiple times a day or anything like that. But, if you have a long history of running and you feel comfortable in your training, maybe COVID and everything around here has allowed you to have some more time, some more flexibility in your day, and it hasn't been a truly huge stressor in your life, then go for it. I think that sounds reasonable. if you're open to that. But I think there's other people out there where this has really affected them in a negative way, whether it be financially, maybe a close family member, a friend has gotten sick from it, and it's really added a lot of additional stress, and or maybe they're working more. I have a guy coaching client. We had to kind of part ways for a while now because his work was like going crazy. He was working like 12-hour days. Like this is just not a good time for you to be ramping up any kind of training or really just get in what you can, and when things calm down on your end, then we'll sync back up. So I think it largely depends on kind of your personal situation and what you feel really comfortable and think would be a logical step for you going forward for now and long term.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely depends. And yeah, somebody who's getting more into running because of COVID, and running more for them could be really good if it's done appropriately. But if they're the person that's running every day, yeah, they're going to get into trouble. But I might be a good example of someone who has a strong history with running, and I've just been doing it a while. And I've never run as many days per week as I have this year, and I've been doing it for months now. So I've been, and I haven't had any serious injuries this year at all that have taken training away from me. And I think I've managed it really well, but I am running almost every day, multiple times per day on several days per week. And that it's just kind of not because I feel like I need to, because I have to, but a lot of it's because, I have a baby, and 3 days a week, like I said, I'm home with him, and I don't want to ruin his nap time by letting him nap in the stroller every single time I run. So I end up taking what I would normally run in a day and chunking it up into 2 or 3 runs sometimes. And I do that 2 to 3 times a week. But, so there's 2 major contrasting situations there. Now, I totally get it. You spoke of a situation where somebody was super busy and doesn't have a whole ton of time because of work. Maybe this person is also having to deal with homeschooling their kids now. But there's that situation. And then there's the person who doesn't have a whole ton of work and doesn't know what to do with themselves. And running is this stress relieving kind of keep them busy activity that they're using as a crutch. But here's the thing is running is great. More running isn't always better though. And so a lot of folks who really just want to get out every single day and go for a run because they have the time and they look forward to that, we need to realize that the body is not going to do well with that if they're in a situation where they're newer to running or they're not ready for it. But nothing says you can't get out and do something else. Or if you really want to do something similar to running, do a fitness walk. I always say the closest thing we have to running is fitness walking, and you could still get on your running clothes, hydrate and fuel like you're going for a run, whatever you want to do, and just get your running shoes on and then just go for a brisk hour-long walk. You'd be surprised at the muscles that feel like they're working, and you get your heart rate up a little bit, and you get outside and you breathe some fresh air. Well, maybe not today with the smoke, but not very fresh. But you still can get out there, keep that routine going, get your vitamin D and your endorphins and all that stuff. Or go get on the bike, or do some strength training and bring your cinder blocks outside. Hopefully you're outside actually. They might do some damage inside, but and spend some time outside doing that type of stuff too. Yeah, cool.
Perfect.
You think you have one more question?
No, I use my 2.
Oh yeah. I forgot. Yeah, we started with you. Cool.
I feel like there wasn't too much overlap, so we don't necessarily need to dive into the third one if we don't want to.
Yeah, and my third question is very kind of touched on it already, but it was basically what's the best way for a runner to utilize themselves this year, in order to be successful in the future. But we talked about that a lot already. I don't know if you have any quick thoughts on that.
Just keep the long term in mind.
Yeah,
this will pass eventually. Races will come back. So just keep trying to continue to progress slowly, and
Yep.
you just want to set yourself up to be in a good spot when it all does kind of resume to whatever our new normal becomes, which is hopefully not this.
Yeah, no. Maybe the normal for a little while, but I don't, maybe into next year, who knows. But yeah, when it comes to the development of a runner, like how you train this year leading up to like a fall marathon is not the only thing that matters. Like that is only a piece of this huge puzzle in how you're going to perform at that marathon in the fall. You know what I mean? Like all the work that you do this year, even though you don't have races this year, is going to reflect on your performances and your running and quality of fitness and all that stuff in 2021, 2022, 2023. And so just because there's no races this year doesn't mean you're gonna, really do things a lot differently. We still just want to foster this relationship with running that's a lifelong relationship, so that's just having the right why and being able to identify progress and all that type of stuff is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, we'll close it there. I don't know how long this was, but I don't think it was quite as long as episode 5, so that's good. So I mean, Adam, do you have any closing thoughts for just running in the age of COVID?
Keep it fun. That's it.
Totally.
Try to keep it fun, keep engaged, and just keep moving forward.
Yep. I think that there's a lot of people going through stuff right now. And life is hard for a lot of people, even if you don't feel like it's too much harder for you. It's harder for a lot of people right now. And so making sure you're there for your running friends, or if you are somebody who is having a hard time, like definitely sharing that with your running community and whoever else too, professionally, if you need help. But if anybody is having trouble figuring out running goals, training, all that type of stuff during this year, you can reach out to either of us, Facebook, Instagram, email the podcast email or whatever, and we can help you guys get on the right track for sure. But keeping things fun is huge. Make things more so like the training should be playful and fun for sure. Otherwise, when you stop having fun, it's like, why are you even doing this? So that's great advice. Cool. Well, we'll close. Everyone have a great day and go make some strides. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a quick minute here at the end to thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast all the way to the end. If you learned anything from us today, or if you see the value in this podcast, please take a second to share your favorite episode on social media. Another way to show your support is to give us a review on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you're using. If you have any questions about anything you heard, please feel free to reach out to either of us via any of our social media channels. All of the information with how to connect with us, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, our websites, email, all that information will be listed at the bottom of the show notes. Lastly, as a thank you for your support, for anyone who mentions this podcast, you can receive $10 off any service to work with either Adam at Run Mental or me at Up and Running PT. First-time clients only. Okay, guys, have a great day.